Hey, this is Dirk Nowitzki, and you listen to the Mavs Step Back podcast.
I like this, TK. I like that. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk get the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, it get tragic. Look with the ball, yeah, it get nasty. He'll drop 30, don't gotta ask him. Got Chris Stapps, coach at the Adam, I spaz like Dallas. I thought I'm rapping, God. If Luka shoot the ball, you know that it's cash. But my boy still living the past. Now he got my boy Chris Stapps, looking like Dirk and Nash in the gap. They just want a ring, wanna fill the gap on your team head. I ain't talking hats, dang, go relax. Still at the champ, defense still coming with the cannabis flow.
Welcome back to another edition of the Step Back, a Mavs podcast. I'm Dalton Trigg. I'm joined as always by my DallasBasketball.com colleague and co-host Matt Galatzan. We got a really good episode for you guys tonight. We got our guy Mike Fisher joining the show a little bit later. We're going to talk about a lot of things, free agency related with him. We're going to go over the All-Star weekend that's ahead of us. We got Luka, we got Dirk, we've got former Mav Dennis Smith Jr. in the dunk contest. We'll go over all that. But to start out, the Mavs they're 3-4 since the Kristaps Porzingis trade. During that span, they had a really big comeback win over Portland. That was really exciting. We thought that might, turn things around for them briefly, but now they've turned around and lost 2 straight games now, and the latest being to Miami last night in what was Dwyane Wade's last visit to American Airlines Center. And after the game, Wade and Dirk switched jerseys, which from a basketball history standpoint, that was pretty cool. But from a Mavs fan, deep down in my heart, the hate I have for Dwyane Wade, it just felt wrong. Matt, I don't know how you felt about it, but why can't they just let these guys be enemies? It kind of felt like it was forced.
Well, actually, I heard Ben and Skin, or not, I was just Ben, Skins in Charlotte right now, but I heard Ben and Skin talking about this on the radio, and it was, I guess he was talking to KT, but he said that, or what they were trying to get across was that basically Wade was doing it for show, because I didn't know this. He has a documentary crew following him around, apparently. My God. And so they're he did the tossing the ball up in the air like he did after the 06 finals before the game, so they could put that into the documentary. So the whole thing seems kind of scripted. I mean, look, I hate Dwyane Wade as much as anybody. To me, what this says more about is really that Dirk is just a class act. You could tell about it, his comments after the game. He was like, yeah, well, I kind of hate Dwyane Wade, not in so many words, but you could tell this is what he was kind of thinking. Yeah, I don't really like the guy, but we've been competing for so long. I do respect him as a player, and if he wants to exchange jerseys, fine. That. I mean, that's what he looked like he was trying to say, but in a polite way.
Yeah, I don't think you could necessarily call it a backhanded compliment or anything like that, but it kind of had that feel to it. He gave comments that showed okay, yeah, I respect D Wade, I respect his career and everything, but he's like, I still don't love the guy, and that's the feeling I got as well. And I did not know that about Wade having the TV crew follow him around.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't either until I heard them talking about it on my way home from work, and I was just like, oh my God, now everything makes so much sense. No wonder he's making a display at every game, to make sure he exchanges jerseys with at least one guy.
And then I saw some, that supposedly Mark Cuban had a tribute video in place, but they didn't play it because they figured Mavs fans would not react well to that. And I agree that, if that's true, if they did have a tribute video ready for him and they didn't play it, they did the right thing by not playing it, because that wouldn't have gone well. They shouldn't have even made the video in the first place, in my opinion. You've got your face of the franchise that it's probably his last season too, and he hasn't gone out there and made a big spectacle about it. He doesn't want the Kobe Bryant farewell tour type thing. So to do that for D Wade, his arch nemesis for so many years in the American Airlines Center, that just wouldn't have gone over well. And
Yeah.
I didn't know that about the TV crew and everything, but I know before the game, when I saw that clip of him throwing the ball in the air, that triggered me a little bit. I had all those old feelings came rushing back, and I remember, I was a young kid at the time and very, very upset. I didn't watch basketball for a long time after that, but I don't know. I think it's forced. I think it's okay to have enemies in basketball. I don't think you have to be friends in the end, and I don't know. It felt forced. I think Dirk kind of knew it felt forced, but like you said, he's a class act. He did it just to do it, and he got it out of the way, and I'm really not sure he's going to keep that Dwyane Wade jersey.
Dude, I would not be surprised if that thing went directly into the trash, or if like he was like, "Hey Luka, do you want this?" Because Luka's like, he doesn't have any beef with Wade, so he's like, "Hey Luka, take this jersey. I don't want this stupid thing." But
that's how I would like to imagine that's going to go over. At least that'd be great.
Yeah, but there was another thing also that I briefly want to mention about that game. Nothing that happened during the game, but I don't know from where you are. Do you get to watch the starting lineup introductions?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so did you notice that they made Luka the anchor finally for the first time all season?
I did not.
He was the last person because going in.
I watched
This is the first game where he's been, because every other game he was the first person introduced, and it's like, okay, he's the rookie, whatever. They made him the anchor against Miami, and that comes with a lot of pressure. That's like that's basically saying this is our guy. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I saw it, but I didn't think too much of it until you just said it. Then we've kind of known he's the guy for a while now, but that is a pretty cool thing
of course,
to notice.
But just like this is like the franchise officially saying to everybody, because you always introduce your number one guy last because he gets the biggest cheer, whatever.
Right.
It might not seem like a lot to everybody, but I think that's a pretty cool thing that they're kind of like, all right, this is the chapter.
Well, and going back to what the Dirk Wade stuff, we talked about the aftermath of that game and what happened and everything, but during the game, I thought it was pretty cool to see Dirk and D Wade going at it actually on the court. I knew there would be some theatrics with the jersey swap and the comments before and after the game, both of them being respectful with each other and everything, but they actually went at it a little bit in that game. It was really, really cool to see. I hate that Wade got it going like he did, because he played a big part in that win for them, but that was pretty awesome to see just from a pure basketball fan standpoint.
No, yeah, I thought it was really cool watching Dirk back D Wade down in the post and scoring him a couple times.
He gives me life.
He even had a couple. Oh, I know. He even had a couple of nice bounces that went his way that show his old man shooting touch. So it was nice. Like you said, I hated that D Wade got. He was the leading scorer in the game. Like, he had a game high 22. Like, that pissed me off so much. It just I couldn't. Like, I was sitting up in the press box and I almost went down below, like to the tunnel into the interview room at like the beginning of the fourth quarter, because I was like, I can't take this anymore. This is so brutal.
Well, let me try to cheer you up a little bit with that. The Mavs blew that 2-0 lead in the 2006 finals, and Miami clinched it in Dallas. Well, the Mavs play the Heat one more time, and it's in Miami. And I think there's some poetic justice that could go on here. They'll get to Miami. That'll be the true last time that both of these guys face off against each other. And, Dirk has a chance to basically top Wade in the very last matchup. I think that could potentially be a really cool moment.
It could. I mean, it'd be just like the 2011 title. The Heat blew a 2-0 lead, didn't they?
It was 2-1.
Oh, it was 2-1. Anyway, the Mavericks.
Game 2 was that huge comeback.
That's right. You're right. But the Mavs clinched it in Miami. So,
yep.
Who knows?
Yep. And like I mentioned, the Mavs have been 3-4 since the Kristaps Porzingis trade. Not horrible, but not great.
Well, that's kind of a loaded stat, Dalton.
I know.
Let's be honest. They were 3-4, or they were 3-1, and then now they're 1-4 or whatever.
Yeah,
or 1-3. Like it flip flopped. They've lost 3 out of 4, and
well, I'll say this:
they're not looking too good.
They're 5 games out of that final playoff spot, but I like to look at just the loss column, because if you look at that, they're only 4 losses out. Behind the Clippers right now, and then you got the Kings and the Lakers there. I mean, it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be really tough for them to climb back into this thing and make the postseason. I mean, they're more likely than not, they're looking at having high or lottery odds that are up in the somewhere the 10 to 12 range, I would think. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, but I think Luka Doncic definitely needed this All-Star break. I think his legs were really tired. You can tell with his shot. So this was a welcome break for him. I know he's involved in All-Star Weekend and everything, but I mean, players don't really try that hard at All-Star Weekend. So
yeah, but like low-key Dalton, I really wish he wasn't there at all. Like I just want him sitting on his couch playing Fortnite for the next week.
Well, I understand that part of it too, but I mean, he being a 19-year-old and being so involved in this weekend and being surrounded by all the superstars this early, and people talking about he was a big all-star snub, and I mean, there's so much going on that I like him being there. I like him being around those players. We'll talk about free agency a little bit later when we get Fish on here, but I think that really helps them out, if not this summer, down the road, recruiting players. So, I mean, I think it's good that he's there. I don't think he's going to overdo it. And, I mean, they still have multiple days after Sunday to get some rest. So,
yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm glad. I'll put it this way. I'm glad that Dirk is Luka's coach.
Right. They're
because if he sees Luka starting to labor a little bit, like, oh God, why am I in here? He'll just yank him out for the good of the franchise, hopefully at least.
Dirk isn't gonna. It's like he said. He tweeted out earlier today, said that he thought he was just the offensive coordinator. He's not gonna be calling plays. He's just gonna be there and goof around, and it's basically just going to be a glorified pickup game, which is how most of this stuff usually goes. So that's fine. But
yep.
Jumping right into the All-Star Weekend, we're going to give you guys just an overview of everything that's going to be going on. It'll start on Friday night, 7 p.m. Central on ESPN. That'll be the celebrity game. We've talked about this before, but that's really just – I don't even watch that game, to be honest with you. I'll watch the highlights later, but I
won't even watch that, man.
It's not something that I make it a point to sit down in front of my TV and I got to watch this. But since we are previewing the entire weekend, I was looking at the roster and I noticed that Ray Allen is in this game. I don't know. How
is that fair?
It's not. That's what I was saying. And to make it worse, he's on the same team as Quavo, who is the reigning MVP of that game.
Well, Quavo's also like a ridiculous athlete.
I know. you look at who the other. Okay, so that's the away.
Well, yeah. Well, who's the former NBA star on the other team? Isn't it like Jay Williams?
It is. Yes, it is Jay Williams.
That is so lopsided. That is not fair.
I know.
Ray Allen could probably still play somewhere like in the league right now.
I know. I was looking at it, I was like, man, this is not fair. They do have Steve Smith, who is a former NFL player, and he's still in pretty good shape, in my opinion, but he's a football player.
Well, I remember the time Richard Jefferson was in that game.
And they do have...
and that was weird, but, he was never... he's not Ray Allen.
I know.
I don't know.
Ray Allen and Quavo on the same team. You know, I
That team's gonna win by 50.
I said I'm not going to watch that. I might just tune into that just to see how lopsided that is. I think it's going to be a blowout. But, yeah, we're not going to talk about this a lot. I just thought I'd point that little nugget of information in there because this is the first time I've looked at this roster. It's not the main event we're looking forward to. But after that, 9 p.m. Central on TNT is the Rising Stars Challenge, and that's where we'll get our first look at Luka. He's on the world team. He's going to be running pick and rolls with DeAndre Ayton. He's got his buddy Bogdanovich on there, Brogdon, and
Bogdan.
Shoot.
There's Bojan and Bogdan, and but they're not related, which is crazy.
I can't get all of these European guys sorted out. But anyway, Bogdanovich, his friend from Sacramento. How's that?
There you go.
You've got Gilius Alexander, Lauri Markkanen, Seti Osman, and you got Ben Simmons on the world team. And then they're going up against the U.S. team, which highlights Marvin Bagley the third, John Collins, De'Aaron Fox, Jaren Jackson Jr., Donovan Mitchell. And you got
Trae Young.
You got Trae Young and Jason Tatum, too.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
This is probably the first time in a long time, maybe ever, where I will be cheering for Team World over Team USA because Luka.
Yeah, and I mean, I honestly think that Team World is going to do a number on the U.S. team. I mean, I just have that feeling. I think these pieces work really well together. I think the starting lineup, I think you have Luka at point guard, either Luka or Ben Simmons. Shoot, I don't know. I think you'll have Luka at point guard. I think
they'll both be in the starting lineup and handling the ball a lot.
Right. Luka at point guard. I guess you'd have either Alexander or Bogdanovich at shooting guard. I'm going to put Ben Simmons at small forward and Markkanen at power forward and DeAndre Ayton at center. And I think that is a really solid lineup. I think they're going to I don't think it's going to be as much of a contest as people think. I might be wrong, but I'm definitely going to
I think you're wrong. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I like when you said the Team USA roster, I got kind of worried for Luka, to be honest. I mean, not because of Trae Young. Like, let's be real. I mean, Trae Young's fine, whatever. But Luka is Luka. But the Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Bagley, just that trio alone, it's kind of like, oh damn, those are some athletes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm just getting a little too excited. I mean, I'm obviously a little bit biased here towards Luka, but I don't know. I just think those pieces mesh really well. I think it's more of I think you're going to have like a power struggle with the U.S. team a little bit, where I think the world team they'll play more of a team style game there. I think they'll eventually pull it out. I don't think we'll have to watch near as close in the second half. I'll tell you that, but we'll see.
I probably won't be watching very close at all to any of that, to be honest. But it'll be interesting to see.
Well, and we'll move on into this too. Saturday night, that's when things really start to get a little more interesting. More people start tuning in. The events start at 8 p.m. and then it starts with the skills challenge, and then it goes into the 3-point contest and the dunk contest. But the skills challenge, we've got Mike Conley, De'Aaron Fox, Nikola Jokic, Kyle Kuzma, Jason Tatum, Nikola Vucevic, and Trae Young and Luka Doncic. So all those guys are in it. The only there actually hasn't been a Dallas Maverick win this contest since it was established in 2003. We've had some former Mavs players win it when they were on different teams, like Jason Kidd, Steve Nash. Porzingis won it in 2017.
Oh, really?
yeah, he did. So what do you think Luka can do in the skills challenge? You think he's going to pull that out, or who is your winner?
Isn't it formatted to where the guards or whatever go against each other, and then the bigs go against each other, and then the winner of those two kind of go head to head?
I would be lying to you if I told you I knew that exactly. I just know.
I think that's the way that it's set up, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
I could be wrong.
Regardless, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know how many skills challenges you've watched, but like all the stuff they go through in that, and then I think you finish it off by hitting a 3-pointer, if I'm not mistaken. But
yeah, no, you do, and if that's the format, if the format is what I think it is, with the guards and then the bigs and then they meet in the finals, I think my final pairing is going to be Jokic and Luka, and then I think Jokic is probably going to win just because he's a savvy vet. But I want Luka to win, obviously, but we'll see.
Well, I have gotten my hopes up since last season when, Dennis, he was in the dunk contest and he got robbed. Still kind of upset about that. Donovan Mitchell, he jumped over squatting Kevin Hart, and they thought that was just amazing. But anyway, we won't get into that. But my expectations, I'm not going to pick Luka to win this. I think it'll probably come down to De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young. And I wouldn't put it past Trae Young winning just so the Atlanta Hawks fans can have a reason to say that he is better than Luka.
Or who's that clown on Twitter that's always on Trae Young's?
Yoda.
If that happens, then he's going to be obnoxious.
Rashad.
He blocked me on he blocked me on Twitter, so I guess it doesn't really matter. I can't see what he tweets anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. Trae Young's got some skills. He's really quick. He's really accurate with his passes. I think he's a very overrated shooter, but I mean, it is what it is. I think it's going to be Jokic and Luka.
Yeah. Well, that's my final pick. I think Trae Young is going to win it. If you have to pick between Jokic and Doncic, who are you picking there?
I think Jokic, just because he's been insane this year, and it just seems like something that he's going to win. I'm not
mad at that. He's amazing.
He doesn't move too quick. Like he doesn't move very quick. He's not the slickest guy, but man, he has laser accuracy on his passes. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. And he's a really cool dude. I like him a lot. I wish he was a Maverick, so he's going to be my pick.
Yeah. I mean, you could see a lot of these guys winning that, but I mean, I don't think we're too far off with our picks there. Obviously, we hope Luka wins it, but I could see him getting edged out a little bit in this. I don't think he's going to take it super seriously, even though he is a really competitive guy, but we'll see how it goes. Again, that'll be the first event on Saturday. It's at 8 p.m., which that's Eastern time for that one, so it'll come on at 7. And then moving on after that, you'll have the 3-point contest, and then we got our guy Dirk. I don't have the stats for this right in front of me. I don't even know how you would look this up quickly, at least, but I'm pretty sure he's the oldest player to participate in this contest. Again, I would have to look that up, but I can't remember somebody of his age that's
Let me save you some time, Dalton. He's the oldest.
Okay.
He's definitely the oldest.
Well, I mean,
probably by a few years.
And I'm definitely not. I love Dirk to death. That's my dude. He's the GOAT. I'm not picking him to win this.
No,
we've talked
not even close.
We've talked about before. We're not even sure if Dirk can make it around the 3-point line, the entire 3-point line, and finish all the racks in time. So I don't think he's going to win that. But here's the guys that Dirk is going up against in the 3-point contest. You got Devin Booker, Seth
the
Curry,
reigning champion.
yeah, reigning champion Devin Booker. You've got Seth Curry. You've got Steph Curry, Danny Green, Joe Harris, Buddy Hield, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, and Kemba Walker. That is a stacked lineup for the 3-point contest.
I can't believe Clay's not in it.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising too. I don't know which.
He probably declined it.
Well, it's probably a good thing he didn't get. Did you see what happened to his finger the other night?
Oh yeah, God, don't remind me. That was terrible.
Yeah, that's I don't know if he would have wanted to be in that anyway. Let's see. If you're looking back at recent 3-point contest winners, Dirk actually won it in 2006. So he's been there before. He's done this before. But
It's been 84 years.
it's been a long time. So I don't know. I'm not saying that he has a 0% chance of winning this 3-point contest. I'm saying do not hold your breath. And if I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna go with. Oh, this is hard. I'm gonna go with the underdog. I'm gonna go with Seth Curry, the little brother. Okay. He is my dark horse pick for the 3-point contest.
So go through it with me one more time after the Currys.
Okay.
You said
the Curry brothers. You got reigning champ Book. You've got Danny Green. You've got Joe Harris, Buddy Hield, Dame Lillard, Middleton, and Kemba Walker.
Okay. So I think it's going to come down to either actually Buddy Hield or Joe Harris.
Wow.
Both of them are really underrated. I mean, it's going to be hard to count out Curry because he's the best shooter ever. But I think I'm going to pick Joe Harris. He's super underrated. I think he's going to be really excited to be a part of the competition. And I don't know. I kind of dig the Nets this year. They're a fun team, and he's been a big part of it. And he can shoot the hell out of the ball. So,
dude, that's even more of a dark horse pick than mine. If you call that, I'm gonna give you mad props for that. I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I watched a lot of Nets basketball this year. So I haven't watched any of Joe Harris, but I mean, he's in the contest for a reason. So,
can I tell you something I haven't told anybody, Dalton?
Oh God, what?
The Nets are my league pass team.
Oh, okay. Whew. I didn't know where that was going, but okay.
Yeah, the Nets are my league pass team. I think they're so much fun.
Well, my league pass team this year has been the Denver Nuggets, and I know they're a really good team. They're not like an underrated team, but to me, it feels like they haven't gotten a lot of nationally televised games. I watch them a lot on League Pass, so. But there's.
I'll take Joe Harris. You take Seth, and then if both of us are wrong, then.
Well, we're used to that on stuff like this, so not.
Yeah, usually.
And then the main event on Saturday night, we have the dunk contest. You got Miles Bridges from the Hornets. You got John Collins from the Hawks. You've got Diallo from the Thunder, and then you've got former Mav Dennis Smith Jr., who wasn't gonna compete in this contest originally, but then his grandmother asked him to do it, so he's back. He's going to try to reclaim what should have been his in the first place. Who do you see winning the dunk contest this year?
Man, that's kind of a lame field.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know about Diallo from the Thunder. I think Terrence Ferguson would have been a better choice from the Thunder than him, but those other guys, they can jump, dude. I think it's...
Yeah, but I hate having big guys in there. I don't like having John Collins in there. I think that's kind of a cheat code. Like when it's Blake Griffin or DeAndre Jordan or whatever, remember those?
Yeah.
I hated that.
What'd you
know what?
What about Aaron Gordon?
I didn't like that either. I mean, he's only 6'7" or 6'8", isn't he?
Oh, come on. You didn't like it when he sat in midair and put the ball in?
I mean, that was cool. But, like, I just think it's cooler when, like, all the stuff that Dennis did last year and, like, the stuff that Donovan Mitchell does and even when it was Nate Robinson, like, I love this when the smaller guys dunk. But if I had to pick one, I'm not going to say they owe it to Dennis from robbing him last year. And since he's wearing a Knicks uniform now, I really don't care as much. So I'm going to go with Miles Bridges.
Oh, I was about to say that. My heart is still with Dennis winning this. You know, my heart's saying, Dalton, pick Dennis. He's going to do it this year. But I'm so tired of being disappointed, so I'm not going to pick him to win it. And maybe that will result in him winning, him actually winning it. But I'm also going with Miles Bridges. I don't know if you've paid close attention to the Hornets this year, but Bridges has been living on SportsCenter top 10 with some of his dunks he's been doing. That dude can walk on air, and he is insanely athletic. You know, he's not like Dennis Smith Jr. He's not 6'2", 6'3", but he's also not a big guy like John Collins and, you know, the mold that you said you don't like to see in the dunk contest. He's a happy medium. So, that's who I'm picking is Miles Bridges too. I think he'll take our breath away.
Dude can jump, man.
And then, well, so we got the skills challenge, the three-point contest, the dunk contest. Then Sunday is the main event, All-Star game. You've got Dirk in there as an honorary All-Star. You've got Wade in there. Dirk's on Team Giannis. Wade's on Team LeBron. You kind of knew that was coming. What do you see going on in this game? You think there's any more theatrics, so to speak, like what we saw in Dallas the other night with Dirk and Wade? You think they'll kind of orchestrate something up for the fans?
I mean, I think they'll check into the game at the same time, probably. And I think they'll probably try and give both guys their shine. I'm sure Dirk's going to get a couple threes up. I'm sure Wade's going to try and either throw or catch, probably throw, lob to LeBron. But other than that, you know, I'm sure they might do something special before the game. But I would love to see Dirk hit like a clutch shot in that game. I just don't think it's going to happen because I think once it gets serious in the fourth quarter, both of the older guys will be sitting down there on the bench. But it could they could do a few cool things for him. Maybe they'll let Dirk dunk one last time in his career. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that would be... I'll say this. I don't think we're going to get as cool of a moment as we did the last time Dirk was in the All-Star game. You know, Steph Curry threw an alley-oop to him, and he did the cutthroat celebration with Steph and Clay behind him, and you had that picture resurface with it said the Splash Brothers with the Splash Father, and I don't think we're gonna have a moment that's as awesome as that, but I'm not putting it past them to give us something pretty cool Sunday. I'll definitely be watching that, and you know what is Dirk's last All-Star game?
Well, you know, I don't even know if you were born yet. You might not have even been born yet. What year were you born?
93.
Okay, you weren't born yet. The 1992 All-Star game, I think it was a 92 game, when Magic Johnson was kind of in the same deal. He had retired already, but they brought him back just for the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning MVP and like hit the game-winning three over Isaiah Thomas. Not game-winning, but it was the three to put his team ahead. And I had that on video, and I used to watch it over and over again. It was one of my favorite All-Star games ever. But I want Dirk to have that moment. I don't know if it's possible, man. That would be so cool.
I wasn't alive for that, but I have watched the highlights of that, and it was a
best All-Star game ever.
Very,
Best
very
All-Star
cool
game
moment.
ever.
Very cool moment. I hope something like that happens for Dirk. So,
who do you got though? You got Team LeBron or Team Giannis?
oh man, I'm going with Team LeBron. I don't know if you watched the the All-Star draft, but he picked a really, really stacked roster. He got Kawhi, he got KD, he got Klay Thompson, he got James Harden. Basically all the free agents, not Harden, of course, but he picked all the free agents. That was obviously some legal tampering there. But yeah, if you compare that to Team Giannis, I think they have a chance. Obviously, all these guys are all-stars, but Team LeBron definitely wins this one, I think.
Well, wait a minute. So who is on? I thought Harden was on Team Giannis. Is he not?
No. LeBron picked Harden. Let me see.
Okay. No, you're right. Kyrie, Harden, Kawhi, Kevin Durant, and LeBron are the starters. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's fine. I don't care. I'm still going with Team Giannis, and here's why. Every time there's a game like this, to me it seems like, where it's, this one team stacked and whatever, I feel like the underdog usually wins because, first of all, I think Giannis is the best player in the NBA this year. And he's got the best shooter in the NBA in Steph Curry. He's got Paul George, who's having an MVP caliber year. Embiid's going to dominate the paint. And he's got a bunch of other guys who can do some really good things. And he's got Dirk. So
well, here's the thing. I think if Team Giannis is going to win, and if we're going to have a chance to see Dirk do some special stuff and, have a Magic Johnson type moment like you mentioned earlier, they're going to have to actually play in this game. Not.
No, and I think they will because they have Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. So, I don't think they can afford to, just loft around for three quarters and then try to turn it on in the fourth. They're going to have to actually try, the full length of the game, maybe build some cushion so when Team LeBron decides to turn it on late, they still have a chance. So,
what they're going to do is when it gets down to crunch time, I'll bet you anything that they sub Kemba for either Chris Middleton or Westbrook. And then that's their final five in crunch time. And I think that's a really good team that's going to take it seriously. And I don't know. I'm calling the upset. I might be the only person in America. I swear I thought Harden was on Team Giannis.
No, it's crazy. LeBron just he went all hands on deck. And there were rumors that Giannis was inebriated and when he was picking his team. But I don't know, man. Team LeBron's stacked. It's gonna be hard for them to. They would have to try to lose, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I'm still taking Team Giannis just because I want to be the contrarian and
right. You need to
if
be
I'm
different.
being honest, if I'm being honest, Dalton, I hate 4/5 of that starting lineup for LeBron's team.
I do too.
So I like Kyrie, even though he's kind of a weirdo and he thinks the Earth is flat. But I'm gonna go Team Giannis.
All right. Well, again, that's what you have on deck for All-Star Weekend. It all starts with the celebrity game and the Rising Stars, and then you have All-Star Saturday night, and then the actual All-Star game Sunday. All right, next we're going to talk about free agency a little bit. We're going to give our free agency wish list, so to speak. And we've got our guy Mike Fisher here, Cowboys and Mavs insider. You can read all of his work at 247sports.com and dallasbasketball.com. Fish, how you doing?
Outstanding, boys. Thank you.
So what we're going to do here, we're going to name off 5 players, or at least however many players y'all want to put on your wish list. But Fish, we'll start with you. Who do you think the Mavs might be a long shot for this summer? Like somebody that might be on the list, but might not necessarily pan out for them.
Yeah, and I guess we should throw in here, and maybe you guys have discussed this over the course of recent days, but I'm not like throwing away the last, what do we got, 25 games left? So, I don't mean to like just ignore the next 25 games and let's hurry up to July 1st, but I do think it's a top of mind issue ever since we came up with that number, that $30 million of room number, and maybe even 38, depending on what you do with Courtney Lee or whatever. And so I don't know why you wouldn't shoot for the very top. The very best player is Kevin Durant. Until he tells me no, or sends through back channels before July 1st, sends me a no, I'm going to try to date the prettiest girl. And I've had some of my colleagues, smart basketball guys, say, I don't like him. I don't like his attitude, or I don't like his... You'd like him if he played for your team.
Absolutely.
It's the Deion rule. And I talked about that 25 years ago. Deion Sanders was despised by Cowboy fans until he became a Cowboy, at which point we were just fine with him. And the same thing with T.O. With the Cowboys. And then most recently, we saw this phenomenon with DeAndre Jordan. He was Mavericks' public enemy #1 all time. And then next thing you know, he wasn't. So Kevin Durant is the pipe dream that you have to dream about first.
I can agree with that. And I sent you and Matt that thing the other day about so far, and obviously things can change a lot between now and July 1st, but the early odds in Vegas, they have the Mavs listed as the fourth best odds to sign Kevin Durant, which there's only so much you can put into that, but it was pretty neat to see the Mavs get put on that list this early.
Well, it's nice for the Mavericks to be more of a destination than they were before. As Cuban said that day that Porzingis did the press conference, we're more of a free agent destination than we've been in the last couple of years. Then he added, of course, that ain't saying much. Some self-effacing takes on where the Mavericks have been. I know that, Klay Thompson's probably on your list. In fact, I think you guys have talked about how well Klay Thompson would fit here, right?
Absolutely.
Lots of times. But wouldn't any great player fit?
I think so, and I mean I think when you have a player like Luka Doncic on your team, who he can score with the best of them, but he's also looking to get everybody else on his team involved. It makes it really easy for guys that can shoot the ball really well to fit in, and that's what you'd get with KD. That's what you'd get with Klay Thompson. Kawhi Leonard, that was going to be my long shot pick for the Mavs, basically because Kawhi Leonard doesn't seem like the type of person that likes all of the spotlight. I think he would like being a superstar in Dallas, but with Luka Doncic getting the majority of the headlines. So I don't know. I think that could be their long shot there. I read something about Bob Voulgaris, the guy they just hired to be a advisor in the front office. He really likes Kawhi Leonard. So I could see them at least trying to get a seat at the table there. Matt, who is your long shot?
Well, I picked Klay Thompson because I think, like Fish said, obviously, all these guys are superstars, so they're going to fit no matter what because they're special players. But I think as far as what the Mavericks try to do with getting shooters open and running players around, like a lot like they did with Doug McDermott last year, I think Klay Thompson would be kind of like Doug McDermott, but like the Superman version, and he can also lock up anybody on defense. And the reason I think they have a pretty legit shot, I don't know how legit, but a decent shot at pulling him away, is I think the Klay Thompson thing can go like one of three ways. I think option A is Kevin Durant re-signs, Klay Thompson re-signs, and they pay way over the tax, and Golden State's Golden State for another year or two. I think option B is that Kevin Durant signs, they offer Clay kind of a low, not a low ball deal, but they ask him to take a slight pay cut, and he says, well, why the hell would I do that? I can go make max money anywhere in the league. And then he leaves, and Mavs have a shot at him that way. Or option 3, KD leaves and goes to New York or wherever he's going to go, and then Clay kind of sees the writing on the wall with Durant leaving, with Draymond making, really, kind of, he's not the same player he used to be. He's regressing. So he kind of sees the writing on the wall of the Warriors, falling apart a little bit, and he decides to jet while he still can. But, I mean, he's kind of perfect for what they do. He's one of the best shooters in the history of the NBA. He's an elite lockdown defender. I mean, those are both things that obviously the Mavericks really need. So,
well, and
I don't know. What do you guys think?
And that's a similarity with all three of our players we named, with KD, Kawhi, and Clay. Not only are they're elite offensive players, but they're really, really good defensive players too, which is why they're superstars and why this is, such a long shot. But a few other players I had on my list that I think, they're a lot more attainable for the Mavs if they want to go that route. Nikola Vucevic, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Danny Green.
All right, let me back up a second. We're skipping over Kyrie Irving.
Well, I'm skipping. Here's the reason I'm skipping. I've thought of Kyrie Irving, but I don't know. He needs the ball in his hands an awful lot to succeed, and I feel like we've already experienced some issues there. I'm not saying Kyrie is on a completely different level than what Dennis Smith Jr. was, but I feel like you might have a little bit more of a power struggle, so to speak, if you bring in a point guard like Kyrie that needs the ball so much. What do y'all think?
Probably so. And I'll note this, and I'll use Jimmy Butler as the example. DallasBasketball.com kind of broke this story/information. The Mavericks think that with Luka as the centerpiece, that somebody who's too ball dominant but not great at it. In other words, Kevin Durant's ball dominant, but I'll take him. James Harden is ball dominant, but you'd love to have James Harden. But Jimmy Butler isn't at that level of player offensively, and he's ball dominant. So you're right about trying to find a way to share the load. But if Kyrie Irving calls you on the day before July 1st and says, I want to be a Maverick, and the other three guys don't, you take Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah, you find a way to make it work.
I think so too. And that, by the way, that's not a prediction. It's really easy to say Kyrie Irving is going to go here, and Kevin Durant's going to go. Like maybe both of them go to the Knicks, and that Kawhi Leonard's going to go to the Clippers, and Klay Thompson's either going to be a Warrior or a Laker. Those are all easy and maybe even smart predictions. But I can't close the door on anybody who's really good, and Kyrie Irving belongs on the really good list.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'll say this. As good as Kemba Walker is, I'd rather have Kyrie Irving.
He's just a better player.
Right.
If Chris Paul and James Harden can play together, then any point guard who's really, really good can make it work with Luka. And we already know Luka will make it work with him.
Well, I think you kind of saw that a little bit in between Dennis's sabbatical, whatever you want to call it, and before he got traded. Rick was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Staggering their minutes so that one of them was on the floor all the time, a lot like they do in Houston. And I think that's what, if you did bring in a guy like Kyrie Irving or Kemba Walker or whoever that is that type of ball-dominant player, that's exactly what you do, is you stagger their minutes so you always have a superstar, so to speak, on the floor.
And I learned this when I was doing Legends games all those years under Bob McKinnon, who would take me to the blackboard. And, of course, they run with their G League team now the same offense and everything that Carlisle runs. And they play two guys who are point guard style players all the time. They like playing two at the same time. So there's room to do all that. And, I think Houston answered questions about that with Paul and Hart. Remember, we all said, that won't work. Hopefully is why we said that. Well, it works just fine because great players who get along work just fine.
Well, and another thing too, Kyrie Irving, like I said, he's just such a better player than what Dennis Smith Jr. currently is and what he was in the short time he was playing with Luka. He's shooting 41% from three this season. He's averaging 7 assists and 5 rebounds along with his 24 points. So, I mean, that's night and day difference from what Luka was having to try and mesh with earlier this year. So, I mean, I could see how it could work. I know there would be...
Not even Dennis Smith is your guy, and he wouldn't even argue with that.
Right.
We're talking about a different level here. I think Kemba Walker is a different level. By the way, why are all these guys, all their names start with K? What's going on here?
It's just the smart letter these days, I guess.
Fish said that Dennis would probably agree with it. It reminded me when all those Anthony Davis rumors were going on with Boston, they asked Jason Tatum what he thought about it, and he said, shoot, I'd trade myself for Anthony Davis too.
Exactly right. Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I think if you can swing for the fences, I think you should do it. They're in a position now to where if they miss, it doesn't hurt near as bad. You still have Luka. You have Kristaps Porzingis now. It's not the same as when they would go all out in free agency in years past, and they would, not have a really good roster after the fact. And I mean, they kind of. What's that?
And this goes to your, and I know you're going to take this to tier 2 in a second, but can you be flirting with tier 1 and keep tier 2 on the line at the same time?
Yeah, you just need multiple phones.
Yeah, if you got to figure out a way to do it. Remember when the Mavericks, they had Tyson Chandler, and they asked him to wait a minute. Remember that? While they were chasing, I guess they were chasing DeAndre Jordan, right?
Right.
Is that what
year it was?
It was. Tyson Chandler told him, and Tyson Chandler loves the people that run this team, and he told them to screw off. I'm not waiting to be your second choice to go to the prom. So how do you juggle and gather the information in advance so you know, okay, don't waste your time on Durant or Leonard. Do spend your time on Clay, but also make sure that you've got a conversation with Vukovic and Kemba Walker. How do you do all those things? Because the team that wins free agency, I think, won't be just the team that signs the best guy. It'll be the team that solves that dilemma the best.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think. And we talked about this a few days ago. But I mean, you can, leading up to July 1st, the back channel conversation we had about agents and all that, they can kind of have a better idea of who they have a realistic shot at getting, or at least getting a meeting with. So I feel like they'll find a way to juggle it correctly, but they'll just have to continue to do their homework, up until the draft, which they don't have a first-round draft pick this year. They got a second-round draft pick, unless they get lucky in the lottery and fall into the bottom 5 there. But they really don't have any other choice but to just swing for the fences in free agency this year.
Right. You know what? On the back channels thing, this is why, and I think we do this really well, and it's one of our strengths at DallasBasketball.com. Who's the agent? What's the relationship with the agent? Once that Donnie fixed that Bill Duffy relationship so Luka Doncic could come here, now you need to look at who Bill Duffy's clients are when you're looking at this list. The reason we keep attaching Vucevic to Dallas isn't so much because the Dallas personnel department is madly in love with him. I'm sure they like him fine, but they're not madly in love with him. The reason is who his agent is, and how agents run this league. I think Charles Barkley did something. It must have been on TNT. I saw it on Twitter though, where he said he must have been talking to Anthony Davis. Said your agent screwed you. He's not your boss. You're his boss. And I'm like, Charles, I don't know what planet you're on, but that's not the way the NBA works. The agents run the NBA. The agents make trades. This is why I had to impolitely try to help guide people on this myth that Harrison Barnes had no idea he might get traded. Jeff Schwartz made the trade. His own agent helped engineer the trade. So keep in mind when we're going through this list who represents these guys, because that's who has relationships that can get you information before July 1st.
Right. Well, like I said, we've talked about the bigger names and how the Mavs can really try and swing for the fences this summer. But let's say that they get the idea that they're not going to have a seat at the table with some of those bigger names. Let's move on to the second tier. I mean, who do you guys think? I mentioned Vucevic, which he's kind of like a 1B tier in my opinion, because he's been outstanding this year. But I've got Vucevic on there. I've got Bojan Bogdanovic from Indiana. He's shooting 43% from three. In my opinion, really underrated player. And then you've got Danny Green, who he's an older player, but he's still shooting lights out from deep. Seems like the perfect 3-and-D guy they would want to have on their team. But Fish, I mean, who are some second-tier guys you'd be looking at?
What does my defense look like if Vucevic is my center next to Porzingis?
I think you have to. You're gonna have to have Dorian Finney-Smith in the starting lineup without a doubt.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to get a defensive-minded point guard or other guard.
Right. A guy that defends water bugs.
Like Patrick
which
Beverly
they
or something like
no
that.
matter what. I guess I'm like Vucevic gets 12 rebounds a game along with his 20 points, so your rebounding's okay. But your interior defense would not exactly be strong. But boy, you'd score. As long as we're trying to make this the greatest team in the history of Europe, what about Dragic?
I know that is a guy that Matt has been yelling into my ear for weeks now. If we get Dragic,
he's my boy.
that is who Matt is eyeing this summer. He's got a player option, so he might not be a free agent, but there's a lot of different ways that could happen.
You got to work. I think that's. I wish I had this in front of me, but I think that's Bill Duffy.
He is.
Okay.
It is.
Let me go through my list real quick, because having worked for Fish for as long as I have, I kind of have picked up on his agent thing quite a while ago, and it makes a lot of sense. So when I was looking through the free agent list, the first thing I did was say, okay, who are Bill Duffy and Jeff Schwartz clients?
Right.
So my second tier guys are Vucevic, who's a Duffy client, Nikola Mirotic, who's a Bill Duffy client.
That's a good one.
And Goran Dragic, who is a Bill Duffy client, who is on a player option, but if he wants to be in Dallas and the Mavericks want him in Dallas and Bill Duffy wants him in Dallas, he'll get to Dallas. And then my wild card guy, do you want to save the wild cards for later? I guess we'll save the wild card for later. But that's kind of my second tier. And then another guy I had was Terrence Ross, but he doesn't have really any connection to those agents.
Okay, does Chris Middleton, does he belong anywhere in this conversation?
Yes, he does. My thing is with Chris Middleton that I'm of the opinion that Milwaukee is maneuvering to re-sign him to a big deal. He's on a player option. He might opt out. His agent is Michael Lindman. I don't know who that is necessarily, but he is a player option. He'll likely opt out and sign, I would guess, a really big deal with them to stay there long term.
All right, if he stays there, does that squeezes out the other guy,
Brogdon, who is my wild card, actually.
Yeah, and again, it's hard to know. Like we've said this about the Warriors. Oh, they can't possibly sign all those guys, and then they do. I'll never forget when the Mavericks were trying to do the carve out cap room thing during the Dwight Howard pursuit, which of course famously cost them Giannis. And Warriors almost got Dwight Howard that year, and they didn't have cap room. They were just going to find ways to trade to get him. And so I'm hesitant to say, oh, there's no way Milwaukee could do this, or the Bucks or the Warriors could do that. But I wonder if the Bucks at some point see a squeeze in what they can do that benefits Dallas.
Certainly possible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Matt there. I've thought about Middleton quite a bit. I think, like Klay Thompson, he's not. I don't think he's quite at that level, but he's pretty dang close, and he would be a perfect fit. But it just seems like some of the moves that Milwaukee made over the summer, and they've just kind of positioned themselves to where it wouldn't hurt them near as bad if they do decide to pay Middleton a ton of money. But like you mentioned before, and we can just we can transition into our wild card picks on this if you want to. But you mentioned Malcolm Brogdon, and if they sign Middleton, and Brogdon is a restricted free agent, then you can really make them sweat on him. So, I could see that as an option too.
Oh yeah. So now we're at tier 3.
Yeah, we're at wild card, which is a guy who's probably either restricted or just, hey, why the hell not? So like restricted is the direction I went with it, because signing a restricted guy is always, or trying to sign a restricted guy is always a risk, because they can make you wait, and then you're tied up. You don't know what you're going to do. So I picked Brogdon because he's also a perfect fit. He's a combo guard. He hits 42.2% from 3, and also he has the only female agent with a client in the NBA in Danielle Cantor. So that's pretty cool. But that's my pick. I don't know about you guys.
I think he'd be great in Dallas. My only thing, as many good players that are on the market as unrestricted free agents this summer, it really is a big risk. Unless they just know like 99% after Milwaukee gives, let's say Milwaukee gives Middleton his money, and they put a contract together kind of like how they did to get Parsons from Houston, to where it makes Milwaukee think, oh man, we just can't do this. But still, you risk losing out on the rest of the guys in the field because they can sweat you out for 3 days. But I don't know. Maybe they'll just pay the luxury tax and give him big money and keep him too. He's having a 50-40-90 season this year. He's really good. He's underrated. But I think they should probably just stick with the unrestricted guys, which leads me to my wild card. I think it's Demarcus Cousins, because they'll monitor him the rest of this season, I'm sure. But he started out really hot. He hasn't been as great here lately. I just don't. The reason I label him as a wild card, he has all-star talent. He looks like he could be a little bit of what his former self was, but I don't know if they want to pay him the money and take a risk on another big guy with a injury history like he has. He's coming off that Achilles tear. But what do you think, Fish?
Okay, well, I'm going in a completely different level of guy. Before I throw out this name, it's not very exciting, so I don't want to get anybody all excited about it. It does occur to me that the Mavericks could consider, because I know some people are saying, you're not going to get the big fish, so just use the $30 million and get 2 $15 million guys. And that's okay if they're the right guys. But I don't want the Mavericks to just spend to spend. And I think they've learned some lessons there. You can wait. Just wait till the trade deadline. And use it then. And your team will be the worse for it, in theory, for the first half of the year. But the February 8th, 2020, there might be something to be done there with the room you have. But, I'd like to go sign a big fish, and then I'd like to open my discussions with the Kings, the trade that eventually sent Harrison Barnes there. I think Willie Cauley-Stein was somebody that the Mavericks were talking to them about. And I think he's a little bit more than just a guy. He's a muscle man inside. And I do think they could use a little of that. Again, I'm not talking about earth-shattering. I'm not even talking about starting center. I'm talking about very much third tier. But if you got me a big fish and then got me a guy like that, I think that'd be a very satisfactory offseason. Oh, and by the way, get a top 4 pick in the lottery with your 13.9% chance.
Yeah, I could see that. If if it's a reasonable price, I mean, I think he would be a great fit in Dallas. He was one of the young players. I'm glad the Mavs got Justin Jackson for sure, but he was another one of the young Kings players I was interested in. He's playing 28 minutes a game this year. He's averaging 13 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists. He kind of, in my opinion, he fits that Tyson Chandler mold. He's of the cut from the same cloth, in my opinion. So I mean, I think he could be a good fit.
I mean, I
don't want to. I'm not trying to say let's move mountains here for Willie Cauley-Stein.
Oh no.
But I'm also saying that there is value in mostly developing your own, because where was Brunson drafted?
33.
So you don't have to spend a lot of money to find that. You just got to draft right. Dorian Finney-Smith, you didn't have to spend a lot of money to get that done. But every once in a while, if there's a little change left over after I sign my monster, then I'd like to go sign somebody who is either a water bug defender outside or some muscle inside, because I think next to Porzingis, they're going to need it.
I definitely agree with that. Matt, you have anything else to add?
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be rude about DeAndre necessarily, but I think Willie Cauley-Stein next to Porzingis would be an upgrade over what DeAndre did this past season. Yeah, I really do. Just mostly from a defensive perspective. Rebounding, it's kind of hard to hate what DeAndre did, but with Willie Cauley-Stein, he's got, from what I understand, his motor is pretty high, and that's something we didn't really see out of DeAndre very much this year. He looked kind of lackadaisical on defense a lot of times. So I'd like to see a guy who's trying to earn his money and who's already got the muscle and the athleticism and the want. And I think he could do really well with added minutes and in a bigger role, and especially in the way Rick uses centers of his mold, I think he'd be a perfect fit.
And I'm with you on not meaning to be hard on DeAndre Jordan, because, gosh, he was getting 12 rebounds and 10 points a game, it seemed like, all the time without barely even trying.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded, you guys have seen Airplane, right, where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the co-pilot? You know what I'm talking about, or are you too young for this?
No, I've seen it a few times.
Okay, where the kid comes in and says to Kareem, "My dad says that you loaf up and down the court," or whatever, and he says, "You tried dragging Lanier and Walton 94 feet up and down." And so I don't mean to be too hard on 7-foot guys who don't have the highest revving engine. Maybe when you're 7 foot, it's hard to have a high revving engine, or it's hard to look like it. But yeah, I'm always a little bit disappointed when somebody isn't doing a little bit more 82 times a year. And DeAndre Jordan certainly was capable of much more than he did here, sad to say.
Especially against the Clippers, you saw what he did when he was motivated.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I compared Willie Cauley-Stein, I said he was kind of like a Tyson Chandler mold. If you look at Tyson Chandler's career, the most rebounds he ever averaged in a season was like a little over 12. And he had a couple of seasons in there where it was 11 rebounds. But, he still had a couple of monster rebound games mixed in there. And he was just he would get down and do the dirty work. He wasn't worried about collecting the most rebounds, but he could go out there and get you, 17, 18 rebounds if he wanted to, if he needed to, but he's
not pushing Luke out of the way for rebounds.
Right.
I think that's a valid point. I don't remember ever seeing Tyson Chandler and saying, "Come on, try harder." I don't remember ever saying that.
Right, and Cauley-Stein, he's only played 28 minutes a game in Sacramento. His per 36 numbers, he's right there, on average with what we were accustomed to seeing from Tyson Chandler. So, I could see it working out. Like you said, we're not gonna jump to that point just yet, but I think if they get to a point where they're looking at those third tier guys, that's a pretty good one to look at.
But get me tier 1 first. That's why there's a 1 by tier 1 and a 1 by first.
Right,
Exactly.
Tier 1 first. Well, Fish, we appreciate you coming in and talking with us here for a little bit of free agency. Like you mentioned when we first got started, we're not pushing off these last few games. There's still a long shot playoff hope that I hold for the Mavs, but if they don't get there, we'll be looking till July 1st.
Well, even short of the playoffs, there's a lot to be accomplished in 25 games.
Absolutely.
In a lot of different ways. I do want to throw this out before I say goodbye, but I think DallasBasketball.com readers and listeners are getting in tune with this. But these two guys who have real lives and real jobs, and one of them even has a romantic interest. I don't know about the other one. This is somehow you guys are doing Mavericks 20 hours a day, and we're proud to have you part of the 75-member staff, and I know that Mavericks fans everywhere around Texas and around the world really appreciate it. So thank you, boys.
Well, thank you, Fish.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it. And also, I just wanted to say thank you for giving both Dalton and I the opportunity to do this, because it's basically our dream jobs, if you want to put it into those kind of words.
You've earned it. Keep up the great work. Thanks, boys.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you later, Fish. Appreciate it. All right, guys. We appreciate you tuning in for another edition of the Step Back. That'll do it for this week. As always, we want to thank all of you that tune in and listen to us every single week. You guys have been great. We have just been overwhelmed by the support we've been shown in such a short amount of time, and none of this would be possible, without you guys coming back and listening the way you do. We'd like to just ask you to like, subscribe, and leave a review for our podcast. Matt, you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I think you covered pretty much all the bases. Just don't forget we're also on YouTube, so you can also go subscribe there and listen to us there if that's easier for you. But we're all over the place now, and we appreciate all the support, and keep listening and tell all your friends.
Yep, and we've said it before, we're going to keep bringing you guys the best content possible. We've got some more guests lined up in the future. We're going to start adding in some interview sound bites from guys on the team, and stuff of that nature. So just keep tuning in, and it's going to keep getting better. But we appreciate you guys. Have a good All-Star weekend.
I'm wild, but yeah, I'm the GOAT. This game get cold. Yeah, you might need a coach, your friends turn into your foe. But I'ma just roll. Gotta keep rolling your boat. Yeah, I swear I give them hope. I say I'm cleaner than the soap. This time of year proves who will really sink or float. For yeah, real. It's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. In this game, it's a lot of grit, you know what I'm saying? Proves who has integrity. Late nights, early mornings, but we all want the trophy at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of this game, because at the end of the day, only the real gonna float, man, for real. You either sink or you float. Only the real gonna float.